G'day. Just a quick video on ACHR Aviation, which ZA on X put in a tweet about today, and I saw lots of discussion in the last 24 hours after that tweet on Twitter. So I just thought we'd have a look at its positioning in the option chain and also in liquidity. So we can see that since the last rise, in this iteration of ACHR Aviation, ACHR, this listed company, we can see that we've had a couple of little bumps along the way, and most recently we've had this big build in the middle of the year, as drones obviously have become more successful around the world, and there's been more talk about partnerships with AI technology, and this liquidity has just tightened and tightened and tightened, and this has been buying of the underlying. So this is in September. We've had another period here in January through to May 23 again, and if we went and had a look at that without this current iteration in it, we'll see that again that this was had quite a build and tightening in liquidity. And if we look at our bottom layer, we'll just drop out of this one, too much information in here. If we look at this if we look at this bottom layer here, this is what we call irregular liquidity, and it shows us much more where in a cycle liquidity is, and not necessarily how it's relating to price movement, because obviously there's a lot of correlation. There's a high coincidence between price and liquidity. Obviously, as price goes up, liquidity sometimes stays tight if people are chasing the ask, but a lot of the time it starts to loosen off as the price reaches a certain level, and that price might be marked by fibs. And so we see this going this high level of liquidity, and when I say high level, I mean loose. And we're now into a loose period. Now it's loose relative to what it's been. I mean, we only have to look back at here. This is really quite loose, relatively, but it is a dimensional thing. Maybe more than three dimensions that are involved in liquidity. If you think of any market, whether it's housing markets and buyers and sellers and whatever, there's lots of dimensions in liquidity, whether it's a bounce in liquidity, so it's reflexive or reactive liquidity, or whether it's a liquidity like this, which is a causational liquidity. Now we'll just go and have a look. We haven't really had another build in this section here. We've just had a rise in liquidity, which looks very similar to the pricing, and we've been stuck in this high volume mode for a while. There's a little bit of a build here. Now let's go and see if we can see this August, June, and then the year before in May, the middle of the year, early quarter of the year, whether we can see that DPI. DPI is dark pool interest, so we just pull it up on this chart here. Dark pool interest is this line here, is the DPI, and so we can see here in this period of 2024 we've had two periods of build. We can see that they're periods of build because there is no relationship to hedging in these periods. There has not been I mean, this last little bit here might be a bit of a rise before we get a topping in DPI. DPI has a topping process where here we can see it topping again, and it's often quite high as it rises, as dealers are buying the underlying in OTC markets to hedge off, so they're not in a lit market and there isn't price discovery of what they're doing. So we can see these lovely curvatures, especially in these dips, and I was saying, could we see it in the year before? Here we go, this beautiful DPI, exactly the same scenario as liquidity. So DPI is short market being recorded at the end of every day, all exchanges have to submit their short trades to FINRA, which is part of the SEC, and we use that data to make DPI, and it gives us an idea whether there's buying or selling. And we were just looking at the most recent time when we said that the liquidity just had a couple of blips in it, and you can see here. Now, one of these blips is a bit reflexive, but that's the thing. If there's options in the market, you get reflexive DPI as well. But there's a couple of little buys of the dip there. If we go to have a look at what's happened, so if we look at this blow off tops about the end of the year, 30th of December. If we go and have a look in the market, what happened at the 30th of December, this is in the red here. These are puts, highest delta over on the right hand side, and in the green here these are calls, highest delta over on the left hand side, so the low deltas are in the centre. And we can see at about the 30th that the market makers completely repositioned their hedging. Well, the dealers repositioned it for buyers in the market, for traders in the market, and they've produced a huge new number of calls out of the money, and they've also increased them to a certain degree in the money. We can see here we had 220,000, we now have 280,000. Now I would suggest that the majority of these are being sold. These are very static. These ones here, they were sold off the top, and they're fairly static. They have declined a little bit, but only nominally. They've declined sort of 10%, if that. Maybe even less, 5% they've declined, where these have built the whole time. So they're very low gamma, and so they're very low delta, so they have a low gamma. And we could just, if we wanted to have a look at that, we could just switch this to have a look at what that says in gamma, and we will see that they've just slowly, even though their number has been going up drastically, they've just been holding. They've just been a constant sell on them. So I would say, and these have become more valuable, the puts have become more valuable. I would say that this action here is showing us that this market is a static market at the moment, moving down, sideways. It's pretty heavy. We were looking at the longer dated ones. Let's go and have a look at what the shorter dated, which is where a lot of the trading, a lot of the hedging is done, especially short-term hedging. We get to see bottoms in it a lot easier. So we can see that it really started to go much shorter, as in the hedging is being rolled out at about the apex in January, and we're seeing a lot heavier delta. We've gone from a low position out here of 70, 100, couple of hundred positions all of a sudden to 1,000 in the money, and that we can see that they're in the money. We're just sticking a delta filter. We can see that there's a substantial increase. We can look here. This is just slowly increased relatively as a percentage, and we're now to a very heavy percentage of positions in those high deltas being puts, and so it's heavy, and we can see that happened on about the 21st. So if we went back in and we looked at the pricing at about the 21st, you can actually see it's lightened with them coming off, but the gamma's dropped right down, and that really repositions it at some stage soon to go up. We're not going to get it banging its head into this high gamma here that is a ceiling. The gamma makes it really quite hard for things to move forward because of the constant rehedging by dealers and market makers. So what will be interesting is if we just zoom in and we give ourselves a little bit better colouring. Let's just take this forward another month, just into this most recent month, just to give us a better idea of the colour. And we can see there's a little bit of a build. And this was this bit that we saw about here. We can see there's a little bit of a bounce. Then it's come back off a bit, but it's had quite a big build again today. And here we're starting to see these puts roll off here. These high delta puts are starting to come off. So it's something we can watch. We can just watch it from day to day. I'll check it, and we're going to add it into our watch list. The buy signal is quite strong. It's much more gamma related than IV or DPI, where we can see these here are gamma related and high DPI, and we'd really like to see a bit of a burst here. DPI is is in a maintenance at the moment. It's in the low 30s. It's not really doing anything apart from maintaining the positions. We want to see it back up here in the 60s. We want to see some accumulation. We saw a little bit of accumulation here. It could have been reactive because of hedging, but it may well have been a bit of accumulation. We want to see some more accumulation building. There you go. I hope I haven't bored you with this little quick video this evening. I hope to see you soon. That was ACHR Aviation.